So times are tough, money is tight, but you're still in a position that you're wanting to get started in fitness, but you don't have a lot of money to spend, or you just don't want to invest a bunch of money into equipment that you're not even sure how to use, or let's be honest, you're not even sure if you're going to stick with it for very long. So you want to have something that's like a lower impact, a lower cost of entry, lower barrier of entry to get into, to get your feet wet, so to speak. So there's a couple of different ways that you can go about this. And what I'm actually going to do is show you a few of the things that I would buy that's going to cost you right at $100. I'm going to put a link in the description down below to several examples of these on Amazon. So if you want to go and check these out, you can go and look at them yourself. So two different ways that you can approach this. One is if you have $100, you can just buy one thing that's slightly more expensive, but that you are going to hope it's going to help you do get the results you're wanting, or to help you kind of get into fitness. The problem with buying one individual thing is it doesn't provide you a lot of opportunity for variation, and it's hard for one thing to provide full coverage, full body coverage, to work out your entire body. You know, you can buy a couple of dumbbells, well, maybe not in 2021, but you know, for right at about $100 for maybe 30 or 40 pound dumbbells for two of them. Problem is that's not going to give your legs much of a workout. Yes, you could probably do some lunges while you're holding the dumbbells up, but it's not really intended for leg workouts or core. So what I'm doing today is more of an approach where I'm really concentrating on a couple of things here. Whenever I'm looking at what would I spend my $100 on, how would I build my beginner's home gym, so to speak. One is obviously the price. We got to be very careful. We can't spend $60 on one thing because that gives us very little money to figure out what else we're going to do. So price is a big one, obviously. One is the versatility. In other words, we want to buy things that aren't just meant to do one thing. And I'll show you what that means here in just a second. We need options with what we buy. The third is, again, full body viability. I want to make sure that whatever we buy gives us an opportunity to work out from the top of our body down to the bottom of our body. Head to toe. Let's do head to toe. And so what I'm looking at is arms, back, shoulder, chest, core, and then legs as well. So with those three things in mind, let's get started on my approach to how I am going to do this. Do me a favor though, as usual, if you find this video to be helpful, please hit like on it and maybe even the subscribe button while you're here. I do these types of videos and a bunch of other fitness and health videos several times a week. So now if you think about a lot of the home gym stuff that you see in normal home gyms, like take for example this Bowflex, well, you can't buy a Bowflex for $100. You might be able to find one used on like Marketplace or something, but generally speaking, it's not going to fit within this budget. But all that a Bowflex ultimately is cables. It's resistance cables, right? It's a little bit fancier. It's got a chair on it, but behind it is a series of cables that provide resistance. And so take that same type of mentality and, well, what can we do to replicate that obviously at a much lower price? And you take something like this, which is, surprise, it is also cables that do essentially the same thing as a larger home gym is going to do, which is provides resistance through its cable system, right? Or through its ropes or whatever you want to call it. So what I'm going to show you right now is something off of Amazon that I would recommend. And the reason that I recommend this is for a couple of reasons. One is there are multiple cables in here, which means there are multiple resistance levels per cable. And that's great. And that goes to our number 2 point earlier, which was we need variation with everything that we buy. We don't want it to just do one thing. And with multiple levels of resistance, that means that some are going to be lighter, some are going to be heavier, and that you can also combine them and hold two of them together to change your weight. A lot of opportunity and options to be able to change what you're doing with these cables. Now, a lot of people can assume that cables are just something you're holding in your arms and doing curls with. But let me show you something here real quick. Yes, so let's say if you have cables, you know, let's say you're standing on them here, and there's a lot of folks that are probably going to do stuff like this, right? Let me turn sort of sideways. I'm standing on these. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can kind of see. And this is the first reaction, the first thing people think about. But cables do a lot of other things too, depending on how you stand on them. They're great for press stuff, shoulder workouts, back workouts, and take a look at this also on the listing here on Amazon. This is important because this particular item has cuffs that go around your ankle. So in other words, let me show you how that would work. So you'd have a cuff around your ankle, and so what would happen is the cable is going to be up against a door, let's say like this, and you're gonna be able to do workouts. It's not a very good example, but let's say you have this on here and you're gonna be able to do workouts with your legs. You're gonna be able to do, I forget what that's called, away from your body this way. You can do stuff like this because this kit has a thing that attaches to the bottom of your door to be able to do stuff with your legs with those cuffs. So that's why I am recommending this particular kit here on Amazon, because it's got a lot of opportunity. It can work you out from the top of the body down to the feet. So the second thing I'm actually adding on is a ball of some sort. Now, I do not want to include medicine balls in here, a standard medicine ball. And I'm gonna show you why. So a medicine ball is typically a harder ball. It's weighted, but it's not meant to throw against anything. It's meant for more holding on to. Maybe you'll throw it against something soft. But what I am talking about is a ball like a slam ball, or this is an Amazon Basics wall ball, that what we wanna do is we want an exercise now. We have a resistance exercise. We want something that we can do some power moves with. Power meaning a short burst of energy, something quick, something fast. A slam ball, what you would do is you take it, you're slamming it down on the ground, bam, bam, over and over again. Quick burst of fast energy. Wall ball, something like this. You can see it takes a lot of energy to be able to do that. So I recommend a cool ball like this to be able to do something like that, whether it's a slam ball to throw against the ground, whether it's a wall ball that you can throw against the wall. I want a ball that can create some sort of fast energy power is what it is, those types of exercise. But let me show you one more thing. So when we talked about earlier the versatility, that we wanted to buy things that we could do different things with. We don't just want to have this ball to throw on the ground or throw against the wall, but because they're weighted, they're great for core exercises that you can hold here in the middle, right? Something I like to do with them is put them down here by my feet. Oh man, I don't like to do it right now though, and just kind of hold it and do some sort of leg lifts here. Lots of stuff you can do with these balls, not just a matter of throwing them against the wall or throwing them down. I love the power aspect of it. That's why I put them on the list. But there's a lot of versatility with these balls and what you can do with them. And here is an example of one that I saw on Amazon that fits into our budget. All right, so the next thing I've got here is, you may recognize this, is a pull-up bar. And these are the pull-up bars that go in your door jamb. So they'll just kind of sit inside of your door jamb like this, and then you do your pull-ups like this, right? So I like adding this in for a couple of reasons. One is they are fairly inexpensive. Actually, here is the Amazon listing for one that's under 20 bucks, and it's got decent reviews here. I'll put, again, links to the descriptions for everything down below. But you know, it's pretty neat because this is getting added in also because it's one of the few opportunities we have to include compound motions or compound exercises into this budgeted home gym or budgeted fitness starter kit. What a compound exercise is an exercise that's actually going to work out multiple parts of your body at the same time, right? So like if you're doing a curl, this is more of an isolation thing, right? You've isolated a very small section of muscle, whereas a compound, as the name would intend or imply, you're doing several things. You know, so with a pull-up, you're working out your shoulders, you're working out your arms, you're working out your core to try to stabilize your body, and even your legs to some degree, also trying to stabilize yourself, right? So I really wanted to make sure to get in a compound movement somewhere in here, but the extra value here is that when you put this in your doorway, you know, it's gonna sit up kind of high like this. Let's talk about the bands again, because then what the bands is, that's going to come back into play, because earlier we talked about these and we said, well, when people use bands, you know, they're standing on them, they're doing a lot of like low to high, right? Pulling up towards themselves or doing different types of things like this. But with a system like this, it actually lets us do something that wasn't necessarily intended by the people that made the pull-up bar, but we now have a high to low opportunity, giving your body and your muscles some variation because of a different angle than we were doing before. Again, extra value for something that maybe wasn't necessarily intended to be used this way, but we're going to use it like this anyway. So again, oops, I better be careful there. It's not a, so again, sort of a downward motion. You can do all sorts of different things like this. So the pull-up bar creates extra opportunity. It gives us an extra compound movement, which was a huge deal for me as far as what I was trying to put into this list and what I thought needed to be added. Quick note about these pull-up bars though. If you're tall, I don't recommend these. I'm 6 foot, almost 6'4", and door jams for me are not that big of a deal. I'm pretty big, and so I don't really use this that much myself because my size doesn't really this doesn't work well together. So if you're over like 6 foot, I don't recommend going this route, but still try to find something that you can take your bands from a high to low position, something to wrap them around. But if you're under 6 foot, this is absolutely a great get. It's gonna add that compound movement and extra variations with the cables, giving you extra value on multiple parts of this kit. All right, so the last thing that I wanted to show you here was I wanted to get some actual sort of weights on here, something that was actually sort of heavy that you would hold on to and do something with. And take a look at this. This is a nice little 3-piece kettlebell set, fairly lightweight, which is fine. And the cool thing about this particular set is it comes with a series of bands that you can do a bunch of different stuff with. Typically, these are used around your thighs to do different types of leg workouts. So let's take a look at basically what this means and why I added these. So let's first talk about the kettlebells, right? So the kettlebell, the reason that this is on here is, again, not just because they are heavy. I mean, even with something like this is a 15-pound weight. You know, when I'm at the gym, I'm doing side raises like this, front lateral raises. I'm doing a lot with just a very light weight, 15 pounds, 10 pounds. I got no shame in doing that with a lighter weight whatsoever, just so I don't tweak my arms. Now, the cool thing with kettlebells is that people do a lot of different variations with single kettlebells. A lot of people do things when they're holding them like this because it creates a need for stabilization here in your forearm because you kind of have to keep it from turning over and flipping that way or flipping this way. So there's a lot of people that do their raises, that do their kettlebell work with the bell side facing up. So let's go to the variation side of this, right? So the variation side is a lot of people also use things with kettlebells with other positions, things where they're doing, core work, right? Things like this, they'll go down, a lot of core work going this way, that type of thing. So kettlebells are a great way and an inexpensive way to create additional variations, additional utilization with your workouts. And so take a look at this listing here on Amazon. You can see the bands, you can see everything. So the bands, let's take a quick talk about these. So bands are just going to be something like this, right? So it's something like this, and what's going to happen is each band is a slightly different resistance. See if I can get my fat butt in it. Wow. So again, these get marketed towards women a lot, but they're pretty good workout. So again, leg workouts. I wanted to make sure to get from the top down to the bottom as far as what we're going to cover with $100. And so, there's a lot of people that are doing these. If you look on Instagram, you'll see this stuff all day long, which is working out your thighs, your hamstrings, your glutes, all sorts of stuff. You can do all sorts of variations with the different resistances, like this, kickbacks, right? So the reason I put this particular kit on here on Amazon was it had the 3 kettlebell set, so some weights, and it had the bands on there, which was, again, more variation, more opportunity to change things up within our $100 budget. So again, links are going to be in the description down below to several examples of what I showed you, and that's it. I'd be curious if you have any other ideas. Remember, these are just opinions. These are just what I would do. Go on there and search around. If you think of something else, if you think dumbbells would be better for you, there's this old saying of whatever works best is a thing that you're actually going to use. So if none of this stuff is going to work for you, ignore it and do your own thing, but just do a thing, right? Just don't not do a thing. That doesn't make any sense. Thanks y'all so much for watching. Please check out my website, fitnessshizniz.com. Link in the description also down below as well, where I write articles and blog stuff and fitnessy type things. So that's it. Thanks y'all so much for watching. If this was helpful, please hit like, maybe even subscribe. See you on the next video. Peace out.